Well, that's not embarrassing.
Blades fans, subscribe to Blades Ramble. Up the Blades.
What is happening, Blades? What is happening, Blades? What is happening, Blades? And welcome back to the Blades Ramble. I'm, of course, Jimmy, and we are proudly sponsored, as you all know by now, by Action Coach Sheffield. If you're a growing business and want support to continue that growth, they are the people to speak to. We're also sponsored by V&B Autos and Triple Point Brewery. Thank you to everybody that supports this channel. And yeah, another little learning curve for the Ramble. I know that we're not the only ones that have sort of been sucked in by the fact that the return lists are due in today. That's certainly, well, wherever I've checked, that's what the situation is. However, that doesn't necessarily mean it has to be broadcast today, does it? So, yeah, for those of you that aren't aware of my faux pas, I've advertised from early this morning that the return list drop in today. Brilliant, because it's the deadline that it needs to be submitted. Well, it might be. It might be the deadline that it needs to be submitted, but we don't know it. So I'm sure it's in. It would be so Sheffield United if it weren't in and it were one of those lazy breaches that we'd potentially fall victim to. And, you know, just chuck a couple of other points off us or whatever it might be. But no, I'm sure the club is, I'm sure everything's fine. So there's the return list. What is going on? The big talking point around the return list over the last couple of days, the fact that it ain't out is one thing, but Ben Osborn. So Wilder in the press, leading up to the last few games, to be fair, has openly, he's been fairly cagey with most of the contract talk. It's been very broad strokes when he's talked about who he wants to retain and who can change his mind now. He hasn't really mentioned many individuals. He's basically said, look, if they turn up for the last 5 games, then I'll certainly be questioning where have you been for first 33, if you like, which I like that mentality. All the way through, he's been saying, when I say all the way through, the last few weeks, Ozzy was the one that he's named. We know that we've got an extension for Ozzy, a contract extension option, which is in the club's favour. We can, as far as I'm aware, we can exercise that option and keep him here for another year. All indications from Wilder was that he wanted to do that. And then all of a sudden, today, and again, see, I'm not always prepared for return lists and stuff like that, but I've come with news again. Danny Hall, shout out Danny Hall from the Star, is reporting today that the U-turn, and this is reported via the Bladesman on X, who does the aggregating for us. The U-turn on the decision to extend Ben Osborn's contract was influenced by United's prospective, easy for you to say, prospective new owners. Despite Chris Wilder telling the media he wanted to keep Osborn at the club, the 29-year-old didn't receive official confirmation that his option would be taken up before being told it had been rescinded after intervention from the Blades' potential buyers, which throws up all, and that was it. That was just a little brief snippet that we got from the Bladesman, from Danny Hall's article. That throws into question loads of stuff. So, new buyer intervention, and obviously we've got the Ramble chat where the Ramblers, we're always talking about Sheffield United in there. That is the place to get your Blades fix, because everybody's opinion is welcome and respected, but there has been so many contrasts in how they, just even this news really, you know, a lot of us have, me included, have sort of said, I can see it, I can understand it. I think I put myself on X last night that, you know, Wilder's being ruthless and I'm here for it. Ben Osborn's always tried giving 100% for club, but, you know, if he deems him not suitable for our club going forward, then so be it. Well, some people have interpreted it, and it is open to interpretation, so nobody's wrong for doing it this way, and we don't really know. Some people have interpreted it as new prospective owners coming in and calling the shots. Firstly, must be well down the line with a takeover. Must be, because you don't get that far involved, certainly in transfers or the playing staff at that stage, if there's no offer on the table, deal in principle, whatever it might be. Darren Smith's come out today saying there's no agreement in place currently, which, that don't mean it's not 80% done and it just needs signing off. It don't mean it's 20% done. It might not even be that close. So it does seem an odd thing to sort of say that the prospective new owners have influenced it. Now, some people have picked up on this influence and intervening as, well, they've come in and kiboshed it. So if they're kiboshing it, then that's something that's a concern. If they're coming in as an alternative and saying, we're going to change the budgets, basically, your plans may alter. It's up to you, Chris, what you do, but we are potentially changing the landscape. There might be more money to spend, for example, and I'm not saying this is the case, but this is the speculation that runs wild into it in the group, particularly with no retain list and the last minute decision on Ozzy. It just seems a little bit perplexing. So it's open to debate, isn't it? We're all here to speculate on it, and I'm happy to go back and forth on what you think. Some feel it's undermining Wilder if it is indeed intervention from somebody saying, no, we don't agree to give him a contract. Is that concerning? Is it a financial move that, look, we need a thinner squad? We don't want to be renewing somebody who's going to be a squad player on 15 to 20 grand a week, because that is a lot for the championship for somebody who's not going to be starting week in, week out, or you wouldn't like to think so. And that's no offense to Ozzy, but that's how it was when we last got promoted. So it's interesting. Others think it could be really positive. It might mean that Wilder's now got more options, so he's willing to let Ozzy go because he thinks he can get better in. So they think it's Wilder's. I would be amazed if it weren't Wilder's choice to do this. Some are also saying it could be his injury. It could be the fact that he went off injured in the last game. If he's going to be out till November, December, why are we taking a risk on another year for him? Because we're only going to be a squad option for us anyway. So let me know what you think in terms of why the sudden U-turn on Ozzy. Does it concern you? Does it excite you? I don't know. I really don't know how to think about it, because there's so much uncertainty at the minute. The other thing that I quickly wanted to touch on, people have been talking about, where are we going? Is it going to be, are we going to Portugal for pre-season? Is it going to be Italy? That's the latest one that I've heard sort of knocking about. I don't think it'll be either of them, if I'm honest. Pre-season local friendlies have come out, and you'll see there that it's York on the 13th. It's Chesney on the 20th of July. Harrogate on the 23rd of July. And we're going to the New York, the old Mill. It's not Millmore, is it? But Rotherham on the 27th of July. All away fixtures. All three. Are they all? Oh, no. There's Harrogate is a midweeker, but the rest are Saturday fixtures. So that's good. That's good. That's people can start preparing and getting excited. I'm going to jump into your comments, because some in the chat today, and I have thoroughly enjoyed trying to keep up with it while I've been at work. But some have been saying, stay on, stay alive, just ride it out, style it out, because you've said that retain list is going to drop. What if it drops at 7? What if it drops at 7 o'clock and you're live and it's still going? Look, we'll still be here at 7, most likely. And if it drops, then we'll switch up, won't we? But we'll see. We'll react as and when it comes in, if it does. But I'm not stopping on doing a marathon stream just to wait for news to come in, because knowing our luck, it'll be next weekend. Kipper, good evening, mate. Thanks for starting us off. We didn't have long to talk about Takeover, either, did we, last time? So if you want a little bit on that, we can do that as well. With the news that Ozzy will be released, tells me there could be a director of football involved. I don't think Wilder will be pleased. I don't think there's a director of football. It's so early to be getting directly involved in transfers. I think this is a Wilder decision. I'll be amazed if it's not a Wilder decision, and I don't think he'll be too happy if it's not a Wilder decision. But that is pure speculation that it's not, because I think it will be. Just want to thank the unsung hero of this season. Well done, Vincent Kompany, on going to Bayern, says Jonathan. How ridiculous is that? How ridiculous. So, Rob Edwards, look, we've been terrible this year. Eke, and Wilder hasn't managed to sort of turn us around either. So I'm not saying they deserve a move to Bayern, but you look at Rob Edwards, and nor do I think he's a Bayern Munich manager, by the way, but just by comparison, Burnley have spent 100 million quid. Rob Edwards, I think net spend was 25 million quid, and they finished above Vincent Kompany. What on earth has Vincent Kompany done in his managerial career that gives him that sort of opportunity? So, look, the most positive outcome for us is that he forces his way out of Burnley and they don't get the compensation that they want for him, and they end up going for Craig Bellamy as manager, as is rumoured, because that would be absolutely unbelievable. We don't want a decent manager like Steve Cooper going in there. Don't talk to me about sausage roll. It's not a stream for them lot. But yeah, let's hope that they end up with somebody like Craig Bellamy in dugout. That'd be hilarious. Where's the list, says Alls? Do not know, pal. Do not know. I'm keeping my eye. I'll be distracted as we're talking because I'm going to keep my eye solely on the United page and see if I can get any news as and when it's happening. Message from Wes Foderingham was the latest. So that's another goodbye video, isn't it? That compilation that we've put together, like we've been doing for all the exiting 5, if you like, only Max Lowe to go, I think. I wonder if they'll do one for him. Steve McDonald says, what's happening about Aussie Jimmy? I thought he was one of the better players. Hope Wilder's going to buy the players and not someone who don't know what it's like to be a Blade. I'm with you, Si. I think part of the excitement around the rebuild was the DNA aspect of it, of United, and the fact that Wilder was going to be bringing in players that are right for our club and want to play for our club. There were reports in one of the papers a couple of days ago that Wilder had been quoted as saying, we went to watch a player in his last game at season, and he didn't he's available on a free transfer, and he's cost himself a move because it were a bit of a dead rubber for his team. He didn't really put the effort in, and that's not the sort of player I want at our club. So he's off the list and he's lost himself a move. Speculation running wild, obviously, in the fan base and in our chat. Some thought it were Alan Brown. I don't know. Maybe Alan Brown at Preston. I think it might have been Chris Willock. Again, that's not knowing anything insider, but people who down tools when there's not a lot to play for, I think that's probably a bit harsh. But, you know, that's clearly the standards that he's setting, isn't it? McLanky gone, says Rye, or not? That's the question. Don't know, mate. Don't know. Maybe he's part of the delay in getting the list out. Are we negotiating still with old Macca? Still looking at United. Nothing come up. No. Rye also says, apparently the Aussie decision was made with thoughts of the takeover. Surely that's stupid when it's not done, and he's been the only player, bar Robbo, recently to give 100% regardless. Arblaster, Bogle, Hamer. I know what you're saying, though. He's one of the few to put it into every week. He does. That's been Aussie all the way through, though. I've not known Aussie ever phone in a performance for Sheffield United. I think he's a trier, isn't he? It's just, for me, he hasn't got the ability. Joe, good evening, pal. The Aussie decision must show that the takeover is close. Yeah, maybe so. If not, that's shocking from the club. Trusting someone who isn't confirmed is risky. Hopefully the takeover happens soon so business can start. So we're just assuming from the article that that's the case. It may be a case of... the other thing you've got to look at as well is, if it's right that we've got an option on Aussie, as a club, we could extend him and put him on transfer list and maybe get a few quid for him. I don't think we'll get 2 million quid for him, but you might get 250 grand because he'll do okay in the Championship, I think, like he's done for us in seasons gone by. So in terms of it being shocking from the club, I understand it in one respect, that if he's been promised a new deal and he's not got one, then it may be disappointing for him. But if we've said to him, look, we've changed his mind, or we're going in a different direction for whatever reason, rather than tie you down here, have you unhappy, and then try and put you in shop window and see if somebody comes in for you and keep you here when you're not really going to play, we'll free you. We'll let you go and you'll find another club. So it's potentially costing club money, or we're losing out on a sell-on, if you like, or a fee to let him go. So maybe you can look at that as doing right by him. And that's obviously, again, me not knowing the inside information at all on it. But it's the other side to the argument, isn't it? Alarm bells for Wilder. Gone against his decision, says Fatty Folk. Will he be retained or gone like Ozzy? I'll be amazed. I'll be amazed if Wilder goes. Exciting but scary times, says Stu. Up the blades, up the ramble. Like and subscribe. Thank you, mate. Appreciate the support. Chris, good evening, mate. Big surprise. Ben's gone. So was it he wanted more money, fell out with Tufty, been offered a better deal somewhere else, or new owners wanted a better class of player? Could be any of the above, couldn't it, Chris? Could be any of that, to be fair. I think the wanting more money thing, he'd have struggled. They all have a decrease coming down. So maybe he wanted a new contract to negotiate that. Maybe that is the case. You might have something there. Fell out with Wilder. Yeah, maybe. Maybe we know Wilder's a stubborn old mule at times, isn't he? Offered a better deal somewhere else. Maybe, but if that were the case, then I think we'd have extended him and done a deal with the club. Or the new owners wanted a better class of player. I'd like to think that, but it seems when we've no idea how close the takeover or any takeover potentially is, it's dangerous to start thinking along those lines, isn't it? Whatever the reason, I wish him all the best, as he always gave his all. Up the blades, up the ramble. Please like and subscribe. Thank you. We've had a raft of new subscribers, which is always very welcome. Nearly at 4-1 already, which is incredible to say. We've only just passed 4,000. So thank you to everybody for your support. Ian, good evening, pal. Good luck to the under-21s tonight. Bring that trophy home. Up the blades, up the ramble. Like and subscribe. See you tomorrow on here when the return list comes out. I'll still be here. We're going to go live and we're just going to carry on through. No, we're not, mate. We're not. I wonder if there's an outside influence pulling the strings before the takeover is ratified. Says Sheffield Weathercam. We need big changes, and this could be the start of the ramble. Craig from Winkerbank, by the way. Nice one, Craig. Good to know, mate. Good to know. It's too much of a mouthful. Sheffield Weathercam UK. Thank you, Craig. What is going on, says CJ? You tell me, pal. You tell me. I'm hoping, or there's a good chance, I'll get a significant update very shortly, but I can't guarantee that. But I'm very hopeful that I could. Why is it we always drag our backsides when we make an announcement with the same takeover? And it's the same with the take. Will be the same with the takeover. If it happens in the meantime, spend £42 million parachute payment to give CW a chance. I think that's all accounted for, isn't it? Not that I know where it's gone, Neil. I'm not making excuses or reasons for where the money's gone or is going, but I believe it's all built into the budget. We don't know what Chris's budget is. We've been told it's more than heck he had in his second season with the club. Takeover fall through during the last week of the window. It'll be just our luck, says Mike. Some are speculating that, that's the situation anyway. That it's, is it really happening? Is it a delaying tactic? Is it a stall from the club? I'd like to think not. I certainly don't think so personally, but some people do. Ray, good evening, pal. It looks like it's been done for the deadline, but according to Rob, football event doesn't have to be made publicly. Interesting. Should have spoke to Rob, shouldn't I, really? Love you, Jimmy. Thank you, Cam. Hope you're well, pal. Thank you, mate. Joe says, what's more likely to come first, the missus getting the kitchen back or United dropping the return list? At this rate, yeah, I'll be in there. Jimmy, there won't be many players on our list anyway. No, but for me, in terms of, I've held off doing like transfer speculation videos because this, for me, is going to be the start. When we get the retained list and we know the blank canvas that we're working with, then we can start building our squad. We can start talking about the rumours in full flow. I want to start talking about who I think we should be going out and getting. I want to do a best case scenario or worst case scenario we could still get, but I don't want to be able to have to include McBurney if he's not going to be here, or Jebbo, or Egan, even Bogle. We don't know. So you're right, though. There's not going to be many names on his list, but for me, it's that clarity that we need, just so we know what sort of ballpark we're working in and how big the rebuild's going to be, Dan. So I get what you're saying, pal, but we move. Lux, good evening, pal. Not seen you for a while. Hi, Jimmy. If Wilder was sacked by the American owners, who do you think they would replace him with? I hate thinking like that. I suppose it's a case of who do you want? I think to know that, you'd have to know what sort of level that they're coming in at. If they're coming in at a ridiculous amount of money level, then obviously you're talking a higher caliber manager, aren't you? If they're coming in at a similar level to our current ownership, and we're essentially a strong championship club, then you'd look at somebody like Steve Cooper, shout out Steve Holmes, Steve Cooper, or Liam Rossini, I really like. There's a few out there, to be fair. We'll see. Evening, Jimmy. Evening, Prince Abdullah, says Rich. Up the Ramble, Jim. Cheers, Liam. Appreciate that, pal. Danny, looks like a deal is further on than what we thought. Hopefully more money for the first team. Big giveaway with Osborn going, as Wilder knows better player can be bought. Finally some money to spend. Up the Blades, up the Ramble. You've gone, haven't you, Danny? You've gone. That's you down that optimistic rabbit hole that it's all brilliant. There's money to spend. Wow. It's a dangerous road to travel. I hope you're right, pal. I really hope you're right. But it's a dangerous road to travel. Mr. V, good evening, mate. Hope you're well. I fear for Chris Wilder's job if the potential new owners are already involved in the players coming and going. I think he'll want complete control, and that's the way it should be. Very rare that managers get complete control nowadays, isn't it? I know that Wilder does like that. He would probably argue that he's both old school and new school, but a lot of people would describe his management style as an old school approach in terms of wanting to have his fingers in a bit of everything. He's a manager rather than a head coach, isn't he? So I understand what you're saying. And I would trust Chris Wilder to do that. The problem there is when Wilder inevitably moves on, whether he's sacked by new ownership, which I certainly hope it isn't the case, he could be with us for the next 5 to 10 years. But when he eventually moves on, you need a model in place that there's a succession plan. Teams like Brighton, who we always talk about aspiring to be like, they've got technical directors and sporting directors and all these sort of official folk in place. The infrastructure is sound so that you can, obviously the manager's very important, but you can change the manager and it doesn't shake the whole foundations of the club. I think if you put too much equity in the manager, then there's a danger then that, like when he left last time, it shattered us as a club, didn't it? And that's a precarious place to be as a club. And I think Wilder will evolve. I think he has already, but he will evolve to delegating and move. You know, I think that's best anyway. I think that's best that he adapts to life as a collective. The only problem with that is you get one thing that was coming into my head there where I didn't want to sort of stop myself, but I ended up doing it anyway. The Gerbich thing, he clearly delegated to Matt Duke Matt Duke gets thrown under the bus every time Gerbich comes up, but it's all right him saying, go out and find me a keeper. You're the keeper, man. You go find me a goalkeeper that's going to do us a job. And you bring in Ivo Gerbich and he absolutely bombs. What's that going to do for Wilder's trust in him not being involved in any of the transfers? It's, are we back to square one with that? I don't know. Steve, good evening, pal. Jebison contract, takeover, retain list, all promised the timescale publicly and let us down. Over-promising and not delivering. If you can't follow through on promises, don't deliver it. And I think that's an ideal time to talk about this.
Hello there, Blades fans. Do you want to get fit, feel better, and get into shape? Well, Jimmy and I have teamed up to bring you the Blades Ramble Health and Fitness Challenge. My name's Steve. I'm a Sheffield United fan, a Platinum Rambler, and I'm also an award-winning personal trainer who's been featured on Sky News, Men's Fitness, and many, many more. I will provide you with workout plans, and no matter how fit you are or where you're starting from, you'll be able to do something. I'll provide you with nutrition coaching, and then we're going to have the amazing Rambler community support you, keep you accountable, and motivate you along the way. You can do it! And the best thing about it is, if you don't hit your goal, I will give you your money back. So if you're interested in finding out more, click the link below, and let's get you fit.
You can do it. You can do it. Nice one, Steve. Thank you for that money back guarantee. Never a bad thing. That will close on a week today, is it? On the 1st? No, a week tomorrow. On the 1st of June, we start that program. So if you want to get involved, all the details are in the link in the description. So thank you for that, Stevie boy. And I'm looking forward to being a new man at the end of the Ramble Fitness Challenge. I'm getting a bad feeling about this summer, says Michael. Oh, mate, you can't. I know. Nick has delayed his video. So, right, okay. Nick was going to go, and the Sheffield United away lads were going to go on at 7, I believe, tonight. Delayed his video. I'm not surprised. It don't look like it's happening, does it? I think the owners should be honest and upfront with the fans. We always tend to upset our fans, John, family stream. So let me focus on your comment. The owners should be honest and upfront with the fans. We always tend to upset our fans. What do you want them to? Do you want them to sort of talk about that? Do you want them to come out and say they wouldn't do that, would they? Essentially, while you're in the middle of a takeover process. I know what you're saying. Transparency would be brilliant, particularly for the fan base, but it's difficult to comment on. I think while you're halfway through some ways into the process, it's just not tended to be done, is it? I don't know why, really, when you think about it. Because what if the prospective new American buyers are linked to McCabe? Says Mark. I don't think there will be, mate. Have I brought my microphone now? No. I don't think there will be, pal. I'd be surprised. I think McCabe's got his own issues to worry about. Bang on, Jim, says Scott. How can a potential buyer even intervene? Surely it's you don't have any sway until you're the owner. I would have thought so too. And media just saying it's that when actually it's something else, up the blades, up the ramble. That may be it as well. And look, we're talking about an article that's come out and, you know, this is Danny's broken news that's been absolutely true. There's been legs to it. And I'm not saying there aren't any legs to this, but we are just going off a media report that says, you know, that potential, it's linked. The fact that Ben Osborn is no longer being offered a contract is linked to the takeover. That could mean anything, couldn't it? But it leads to loads of speculation in terms of, well, has somebody pulled his contract, or has Wilder pulled his contract because of an increased budget or a decreased budget? Is it Wilder's choice? Are they going above his head? Has Ozzy come to club and said, well, you've changed goalposts on me, I'm not happy about it? It leads loads of questions, doesn't it? All over the place. When I get in the 10 bob tour of the new studio, when it's ready, mate, when it's ready. We just had some at floor go down tonight. He'll be back tomorrow to put the actual flooring in now once that's set. We're almost there, mate. We're almost there. Exciting times ahead. Either way, I think it's silly if we're listening to prospective new owners when there's no deal yet. Yeah, but we don't know if that's happening, Mike, do we? That's been the report, so we're right to speculate on it. Bloody hell, he's here, look. Nick, unbelievable. Thank you, pal. Evening, Jimmy and the American group. I don't mind who takes us over as long as they invest in the club and are willing to back us. Have a great weekend, everyone. Up the ramble. Thank you, Nick. You are so kind, mate. Maybe you can get involved and have a couple of chats with Prince Abdullah and chuck some money at Sheffield United. Thank you very much, mate. Steve says Jim Ratcliffe had decision-making power at Man United before the deal went through. Did he? I didn't know. He may have done. It may have been a contingency of the deal, but wasn't the deal already underway? I don't know. Tim, good evening, mate. Prospective owners often enter into a period of exclusivity to allow deep due diligence. At that point, they probably have the influence as both parties will expect the deal to go through. Yeah, and we don't know if that might be the case also. It's so, I mean, people want to talk about it, so that's why we're here. But it's difficult to sort of nail anything down into it until we know a little bit. If it had been announced that they've entered a period of exclusivity or something like that, then it's different. But it's all speculation at the minute, and which is fun, isn't it? Because it could be two completely different ends of the scale. It could be a case of we're nowhere near a takeover, and you know it's all speculative, or it could be there's huge money coming into United, and Wilder's going to get a massively bloated budget, which some might fear for anyway, looking at his track record with money. What the Bladesman said on X post, referring to Osborn, says Danny is true. Reliable source himself. The Bladesman isn't a source of news, unless I'm happy to be stood corrected on that. The Bladesman is a great source of information for Unitedites, but he's an aggregator. He passes on information. You'll notice at the bottom of most of his posts, he'll source where he's got the information from, which is what all responsible aggregators do. He's basically putting news out and passing it on. All the news that he can gather about Sheffield United is passing it on to us and crediting the people that's brought the news to him. Pre-season at York, says Pat Norrington Davis. Any relation? And if so, can we get your Reese sorted out, please? The Blades are a quiet beast, awaiting to roar, says Danny Boy. Everything is currently in place to make big things for us. In place to make big things for us with a fair amount of finance. We could do a Villa or City. Until City was taken over, they were not. Look, it's not going to be that. It's not. You can't even get into that headspace. Wilder won't enjoy things not turning out differently to what he told the fans, but fingers crossed that's it because of an increased budget and therefore more options. Oh, unbelievable. Hi, Jimmy, up the Blades. Hiya, pal. Hope you're okay. More TV champion. Bill, good evening, mate. Potential new owners might have a say in day-to-day operations if they're close to entering or have already entered into a period of exclusivity. Could be closer than we first thought. It could be, mate. It could be. Does anybody know, and this is one for the comments as well, because you may know, if that's the case, does it have to be declared with us being all the accounts through Company's House and things, does it have to be declared anywhere if they're going into a period of exclusivity? Is that something that they have to inform some sort of body about? I'm sure it is, but then is that made public? Because it doesn't look like the club's talking much about it. Getting carried away, Danny Boy, don't even know who these owners are yet. Could be naff. They could be naff. These potential owners might send us into another transfer embargo and then all these leaving we can't replace. We can't think like that, mate. If Atletico Madrid offer you 20 million for Wilder's services, would you take it? Yeah, you'd have to, wouldn't you? You'd have to. Like, I'm a huge, I say every stream, everybody knows what I think about Wilder, but I think he'd take it and all. To be fair, you got to be realistic, can't you? You got to take your blinkers off sometimes and realize what the situation is. Yes, I would take it, Steve. Of course I would. We could go for Smodics or that whole player Philogene, do you mean? We could do really well this season with quality signings and new owners. A lot more optimism now, Jimmy. Let's get the deal done, get players in and go up. Danny, from memory, and obviously I get loads of comments on these streams, which I'm really happy about now and I really appreciate. But I'm sure it was you that was so down in the dumps about our situation, even on just the last stream. So it's amazing, isn't it, how you can flip-flop. And I don't mean you particularly, but how your mood can change just with odd bit of news or an odd change in the wind and stuff like that. Jamie says it were on Sheffield Star. It was, I think, mate, yeah. Hiya, Jimmy, when do you reckon the list will be released? Now? No, I don't know, mate. I obviously thought it were going to be earlier than it has been, and there's still nothing. Still nothing. Anyone know if Jordan Amissa has been released? I would be surprised if he's retained. I just think he's getting a little bit older. He's not really progressed. And I'm not saying he's had a chance to progress, but I'm just saying we've probably got better prospects coming through. And you look at somebody like Faxon, who's playing tonight. There's people behind him that are probably pushing him out of the way that are a little bit younger as well. I might be surprised. He might end up being number 3 next year, but I don't think he will. He weren't really getting in at Burton on his loan there. That was his chance, really. Let's be honest, Jimmy. Ozzy was only going to be kept as money was tight and he could play many positions. Not a quality player, but effort was there. Money now, maybe an option we can replace with a better player. I'm hoping that's the case, Dan. I'm hoping that's the case, mate. All's the gamer says, well, maybe given the fact that Osborn talk is from the Yanks, then maybe the talks are much deeper than what we thought and may have been the reason why the retain list is still not here. Yeah, could be. What the Bladesman said on X regarding Osborn is true. Reliable. So I think Danny's just repeating his earlier comment, but he's now added up the Blades, up the Ramble, like and subscribe. So it deserves another read. You can tell that I just click on stuff without reading them first, can't you? Unless I see a certain name pop up every now and again. Is the deadline definitely tonight, by the way? Just seen someone mention it might be tomorrow. I was told it was tonight. I thought the official deadline originally was last Saturday or Friday or Saturday to go to the FA, which is why when it were mentioned about the deadline today, I thought it must have been to announce it, but clearly not. But listen, as a club, we've announced things at midnight before, haven't we? So you can never, it's never boring being a Blade, as somebody said before in the Ramblers chat. No point in us Blades getting stressed, Jimmy, says John, as it's all out of our control. Let's have trust that the powers that be will make all the right decisions. Up the Blades. Keep the faith. Thank you, mate. Yes, we will do. Ashley, good evening. Aussie's not good enough to challenge at the top of the league. Bang average, right decision, better things await. I think that is more to the strong side of the opinions on Aussie, but I tend to sit on that side of things, to be honest. I don't, it's not about sentiment, is it? And I get there's a lot of players. I think some people were more, if it's a 50-50, I'd rather we stick with them because there's so many other players to change. And I understand that as well. But if they're not going to be good enough and he's sitting on a big wage, I agree. Why are we keeping him? I don't mind Osborn going, says Andrew, as I think he's given his best in the past seasons. Yeah, maybe so. Wayne, good evening, mate. If it is correct that the Aussie decision is takeover related, then this could cause havoc with any progress made with potential signings if they're getting input or influence. It could, or it could mean that we're going back to a longer list that includes more expensive targets. Or is that just wishful thinking? Who knows? Also, Aussie is a versatile player who puts a load of effort in, and given the fact that Ivo Garbage could be our only player in the squad by July, I won't be, mate. Don't worry. We're all going to be good, Alls. We're all going to be good. Let's hope he takes his guitar with him from the locker room. Might be the best left behind, so Brewster can learn to play with the amount of time in rehab. Thank you for the service, Aussie. All the best, pal. Choo choo, the train that's never late. David Webster, I'd give Atletico 20 million quid to take clueless Chris. Fair play, David. Good evening, pal. I hope you're well. I hope you're doing okay. Apparently, the takeover that the Americans don't want Aussie, even though he's class, says Jacob. Horses for courses, pal. You're entitled to your opinion. Come on, mate. You are in the know, says Craig. Mate, I wish I was. I don't know anything about this takeover. I don't know. I'm hoping to find out. And if I do, then, and I'm allowed to share, then I certainly will. So, and I say whether I'm allowed to share or not, because it's great being in the know sometimes. And when you've got a YouTube channel, it's very exciting to be able to pass on news. But the one thing none of us want is anything getting spoilt because something's, a Blades Rambler has blurted out that, oh, we're signing this guy, and then, I'm not saying I have any influence on anything, but once you set airs running, sometimes it's tricky, isn't it? We don't want to upset anything, do we? Why would the Prince spend money on a company to find us a buyer and then the current takeover not be true, says Happy Acres? I genuinely do think he cares for the club and wants the right people to take over. I agree. I completely agree. And I'm confident that it's a legit takeover too. Evening, Jimmy. Good evening, Nick. What do you think to the pre-season fixtures? Will there be a training camp abroad too, do you reckon? I think it's going back to the old similar sort of theme under Wilder. And I remember we did this a couple of seasons under Wilder where we just went away, didn't we? We didn't have a home fixture. We went away to local grounds, which I like, and we also had a pre-season trip abroad. So, yeah, we'll definitely go abroad somewhere. Absolutely, we will. Mick, good evening, mate. I think I'm in a parallel universe that the runaround kid has not had a contract offer. Please tell me it's true. Up the Blades, up the Ramble. He's another one into Aussie that people respect his work rate. The runaround kid here, as Mick calls him, but his quality is in question. Shall we? Do I think the list's been delayed because of Jebbo and McBurney not being committed or not committing yet? But then Wilder said he'd only give a certain amount of time. Up the Blades, up the Ramble. Yeah, I think Wilder was clearly planning when he spoke in his presser for the return list to come out on Tuesday this week. So I was ready for it Tuesday. That's why I've sort of held off doing many rambles and stuff and getting ready for this return list to come out. And then there's clearly something changed, hasn't there? Whether it's this investment, whether it's a takeover, whatever it's going to be, something has changed that's delayed it, whether it's negotiation. Because the other thing is, we might have agreed to free McBurney. We couldn't come to a contract. This is just an example, by the way. Couldn't come to a contract resolution with McBurney. So we were going to free him. And that we're going to be on the list on Tuesday that he's had his deadline. It's gone. New investment. We don't need Aussie. But we're going to offer McBurney more money now because we've got a bigger budget. So we can offer McBurney more money, we'll keep him. And I'm not saying, again, this is the case. Because I know some people very close to me, actually, wouldn't be happy with that. But yeah, if there has been a movement of the goalposts, that could also affect other deals, couldn't it? Like Jebbo and McBurney. So potentially, mate, yeah. Cody says, hi, Jimmy. I'm sorry I haven't been able to be a rambler. Currently having a bit of difficulty, and mentally I'm worried if United loses their identity under new owners, Aussie, Bash and Baldock. Listen, mate, don't ever worry about not becoming a rambler. That's an additional bonus that people offer us. I just hope you get something out of the content, and I thank you for just joining us for a chat. If you want to talk about and listen to stuff about United, nobody's under any obligation to do anything for us. I love getting on here and talking to you. The other thing I'll say is if you're struggling mentally at all, then always get in touch. My DMs are open for a reason, and I know there's loads of people in our community here as well that would extend the same. It's not like, look at me, I'm a great person, I'll talk to you about it. I have had significant struggles myself, so without getting too off on a tangent, there's always people here to talk to me, and it's very brave to even mention it on a comment that you know is going to get read out. But in terms of, so yeah, there's always people there, and that's the most important thing I wanted to mention to you. But I'm worried United loses the identity under new owners, Aussie, Bash and Baldock. That's the one thing with Chris Wilder here that I'm not concerned about. I think we will get the characters in, like particularly Bash and Baldock. Aussie, in terms of his effort levels, yeah. But he's banged on as Wilder about the culture, and it's something that I'm really keen on getting right, and I know a lot of people are as well. So John says, hi, Jimmy. I think this takeover has already started. Up the Blades, up the Ramble. Like and subscribe. Thank you, pal. Never boring being a Blade, is it, says Ray. Always something going on to get us either excited or depressed about. Let's hope the takeover happens before the new season starts. Up the Blades, up the Ramble. Like and subscribe. I'm sure if it's going to happen, it will. And I understand why people are skeptical about it too, Ray. But yeah, thank you, mate. Appreciate that. Hamer's a done deal with Leicester, says John. Don't think so. I'd be surprised if it is. Certainly so early on. I'm not saying he won't go this summer because he has got a release clause, but well, it's not John, but good try, says Scott. Well, look, if John's heard something, then that's, I'd like to know where from, but I'd be surprised if it's been done like that. Have you heard about VAR going out, up the Blades, up the Ramble? No, I haven't, Josh. I haven't. I heard they were challenging, or they're going to try and challenge it, and it's not even got off the ground, really. I think it's been outvoted as something that's going to be challenged by the Premier League. They've got to get a majority of 2/3, so 14 clubs to vote in favour, and I don't think they got that. Mr. V, thank you, pal. I'm back as a platinum. Brilliant. Thank you, mate. Up the Blades, up the Ramble. Thank you so much for your support. That is brilliant to hear. Thank you, mate. And it'll be great to have you back. We'll get you in them groups and get you sorted out. Steve McDonald. I'm going to stop calling you Steve McDonald because I know it's not even that name, is it? Simon Gregson, isn't it? Simon, my old mate. Well, I've been watching and listening, and I'm still none the wiser. Me too, mate. Me too. And I'm one that's talking to the camera here. 7 p.m. and still no return list, says Scott. That tells everybody where I am in my comments. Thank you, mate, for giving us a checkpoint. Will there be a meet-up before pre-season games? Absolutely right, there'll be a meet-up. Do you mean before the match on pre-season games? Because I'm sure for those that are going, I haven't sorted out what games I'm going to yet in pre-season. But we're talking about a Ramblers closed season meet-up anyway. So there will definitely be some discussions around that. So keep your ear to the ground on that, pal. We'll get that sorted. Joe says, who's to say that this takeover hasn't been going on for a while? And maybe that's why we didn't go for the likes of Johansson and Man Can Dream. Well, I know I mentioned, and then Dave Leary had independently mentioned in the comments, maybe that's got something to do with why we've been linked with left field expensive signings like Anthony Patterson and Wout Berger. That horrible surname, but I hope he's not a snake. Anyway, so yeah, maybe so, Joe. Maybe so. A man can dream, he says. Stevie Holmes says maybe with the legwork being done last year, it could be a quick turnaround. Similar to what Joe said there, yeah, absolutely right. It may have already been. The wheels may have already been turning, and this is just picking up from where they left off. Welcome, Mr. Vancouver, to the... No, elites are different, Nick. We'll get the hang of this, but there's elite Ramblers and there's platinum Ramblers. So, yeah, Mr. V has gone platinum. The new owners are going to take us to Get O'Hare and Whittaker. Wow, those are ambitious, but maybe achievable. Maybe achievable. I like that. I really like that. David Webster. I really, really want us to lose our identity. It's subservient, inverted snobbery, running around preferred to quality, and parochial, one of our own claptrap. Do you know that's you've got me off on a tangent here, but that's not been sung yet, has it? One of our own to Chris Wilder. It's been sung to Ollie Arblaster. It's not been sung to Chris Wilder, has it? There's still some turning round to do, I think, from some of the fan base. But I'm sure if we get off to a good start in the championship, those old wounds will start to heal. But thank you, David Webster, for your unwavering positivity regarding the current ownership and the current management team, should I say. Right says, I'm starting to worry, I won't lie. Right, come on. We've had this conversation. As the days go on, I start to worry more and more about this summer. Feels like the Sheffield tide is turning. Mate, we can't say stuff like that. We can't say stuff like that on the internet. Nixon said something about Yankees on his last Patreon. Their owner has a 1.5 billion net worth. The New York Yankees. So, Ben, I hope it is. I hope whoever's taking us over does have a 1.5 billion net worth. I'll be amazed. I'll be absolutely amazed. Nixon said the Yanks, meaning Americans. That's what I read. The Yanks rather than the Yankees. So I don't know if that's where you're getting confused, mate. Did I just hear Hamer to Leicester is done? Oh no, panic. Panic. No, right. Maybe that money buys us Smodics. No, what's the obsession with Smodics? 29-year-old or something, one good season and leaves us some change. I'd happily take that. I wouldn't. Terrible deal. No resale value on Smodics. And who's to say he's gonna do the business again? No, thank you. Scotty sorts us out by saying Hamer hasn't left. He's put yet. I'm just saying he hasn't left. Calm down. Kane, evening, pal. Hope everyone's well. Can't help but look forward to the future with all the ongoing rumours. Going to be a great summer. Yes, it is, mate. We're going to be busy. Somebody asked me the other day, what are you going to do now? Season stopped. I said, mate, there'll be plenty for us to do. Don't you worry. We'll be rambling all the way through summer. Mark says McCabe had some Americans lined up before his plan to screw the Prince blew up in his face. Could they be back? No, that was Alan Pace, I think, that McCabe was talking to, who ended up buying Burnley and leveraged all their money against the club to give company the funds that got them up. And now they're going back down again and going to have to sell them all. 1-0 to Blades under 21s in the final. That's brilliant. Love to see that. Thank you, Jamie Pal. Luke says, what's the Sheffield tide turning based on? Rye, come on. What's it based on, pal? Hi, Jimmy. At least your ramble is never boring with all the different comments coming in. It's good stuff. Up the ramble, up the Blades. Thank you, pal. Thank you. I'd like to think we're not boring. Got an easy feeling at the moment. Hope it all's good and finish way above the Wendy's. Yeah. Got an easy feeling? Is that uneasy, Paul Rogers? Let me know, mate. 8 to 10 players to be added this window up the Ramble. Yeah, I think so too. I think so. It's going to need it. Larry Page. Don't get it. Sam Lewis, we've got to move on in football. We need a complete overhaul, says Sam. We've seen Ozzy at his ceiling. We need to let go and restructure the club from top to bottom. The other thing to think about is as well, and this is purely speculative, but if there is money coming into the club, and there might not be, but there might be, we were thinking about, well, we need to sell Anel and we need to sell Sousa, and just to sort of balance the books a little bit, put a little bit more in the transfer kitty, make sure we're being sensible with what we're doing. Does this mean we might keep Anel, maybe? I know that's not been the rhetoric all the way through, and I still think he'll go, but does it mean we've a chance of keeping him and we know how good he can be in the Championship? I don't know. And would it change your mind on keeping him? I'd probably still cash in, to be honest. I think his attitude has been off this year. Well, that's just my personal opinion. I think the club buyout is far enough down the road for the buyer to ask not to sign or do anything until they take over, says Andrew. The press has plucked Ben out to make a headline. Oh, so you think they've already got their fingers in the pie? Maybe so. Burnley in a worse position than us. Managers going, and they've got a lot larger wage bill. Yes, they have, and they need to sell up some players as well, John, from what I understand. Prince Abdullah's done so much right, and United, Jimmy, and lost its United, Jimmy, and it's lost on a lot of people because of a few mistakes and a lack of funds. As long as the Yanks have enough dough for an airport, we'll be right. Yeah, thank you, Joe. Bit of perspective. I agree. I think people know how I feel about it. I'm not going to bank the same drum, but it's nice to see that there's a balance of opinion because there's others that completely disagree with you and me. Thoughts on Vinny Company going to Bayern Munich? Wilder would never. Wilder would, and I wouldn't blame him. I think for Company, it's an unbelievable chance. How has he got that chance? I think it's great for Burnley, if I'm honest. They're daft if they appoint Craig Bellamy. You take 20 million quid and you laugh at them. And then you appoint somebody like Steve Cooper. If I'm Burnley, that's what I'm doing. Andrew's become a new Rambler. Thank you, pal. Very much appreciated. We'll get you in the group and you can join the madhouse. Jamie says, Lucas Company to Bayern would be a disgrace. His name alone stopped him being sacked by Burnley and potentially gives him the Bayern move. Haven't Burnley given Bayern a £20 million fee? I think that's in his contract. It's got to be 20 million to get him out of Burnley. Ridiculous. Thoughts on Company? Just giving them Luke. Hope that's answered it for you, pal. You've got an uneasy feeling, Paul. I thought that's what you were saying. That makes more sense now. Hope you're wrong. Just hope we finish way above the Wendy's. Yeah, absolutely. That's minimum target. Minimum. Look after yourself, Cody, says Jamie. Jimmy's good to speak to him. Thank you, mate. Appreciate that. Yeah, always available. Yeah, absolutely. Blades under 21's currently winning. That's good to know. Thank you, Andy. Thanks for keeping us posted, pal. Maybe the new owners can let us buy our boy, Michael Cooper, Jimmy. Up the Blades, up the Ramble. Action Location knows. He knows. He's been on the Mike Cooper train with me. With us at the Ramble. That's where you first heard it. You heard it at the Ramble first. Don't let anybody tell you any different. Holding out to try and find a way to tell us Haim has been sold. Up the Blades. Up the Ramble, like and subscribe. Middle Dill, who was the player Wilder changed his mind on signing on a free because of the last game of the season. I'm speculating, and that's all it is, on Chris Willock at QPR. A lot of people have said it might be Alan Brown, but I'd be surprised if Alan Brown weren't getting up and down the pitch because he is very mobile for Preston. So, we probably will never know, to be honest. Toronto Blade. What's all about? Happy to gift Cody a membership. Oh, thank you, pal. Just need someone to walk me through how to do it. Keep your head up, Cody. That's very kind of you, Toronto Blade. Thank you, pal. If Takeover happens pre-season tour to the US, you heard it here first. Yeah, well, that'd be great, wouldn't it? That'd be great. Any excuse really to get on that train. Jimmy, if we get new owners and a bigger budget, then we can get rid of coloured boots and sick note Brewster. Up the Ramble, up the Blades, like and subscribe. I find it hard to go out hard on Brewster. He's a very likable kid, but then people remind me how much we spent on him, and I understand it. It's just got to be right, haven't you? Sorry for all the negativity, guys. Let's have a good preseason. Hope we get some bodies in before July friendlies. Come on, you Blades. Right. Absolutely love you, pal. You know that. One of our biggest supporters is a Platinum Rambler. He was very keen on us getting Victor Johansson in, was all right. We didn't get it. And since then, he started to go into a bit of a panic about us being slow to move and stuff like that. And you're not alone in that, Rye. But we're all in this together, mate. Whether it goes well or poorly this preseason, we're all in it together. And we'll all moan together or we'll laugh together. And, yeah, get yourself back on one at phone in soon and we'll have a chat. Up the Blades, up the Ramble, says Jordan. Osborn, right decision, in my opinion. Retained list needs to hurry. Absolutely right, it does. Oh, dearie me. Yeah, still nothing. Still note. Osborn, the right decision. And hopefully we can finally get new owners in ASAP. I just think, would you have a preference as to whether Prince Abdullah stays or not? Would you like it if he retained a majority and got some investors in? Would you like it if he retained a minority interest just to guide new owners on, it's an easier transition then potentially for new owners? Or do you want a straight sale from Prince Abdullah? I'd be interested to know what your thoughts are on that. Mike, thank you, pal. Very much appreciated. Towards the cave. Love that. Love that. The studio. Love that. Very much appreciated. Thank you. Up the blade, says Wayne. Bring on the Yankee takeover and get Cam and BBD back up. Up the blades, up the ramble. Thank you, pal. Wayne, I've still got your thing to do. I haven't forgotten about it. I just don't go around to it. I apologise, mate, but I will sort that out. And I don't think we'll get Cam or BBD back. Not in this league, anyway. Mark says, can't wait to smash the South Barnsley Tuna boys next season. Oh, I don't even want to think about it. Sam Tickle of Wigan looks good, says Jamie, but he's just signed a new deal, mate. Just signed a new 4-year contract, I think. Maybe that's with a view to selling him and they'll get a better fee for him now. Yeah, he does look half decent from what I've seen of him. Because I hadn't seen a lot of him. Then I'd seen him mentioned a couple of times on here. I've had a look. I like him. I'd still rather have Mike Cooper, if I'm honest. Still would rather have had Victor Johansson. But yeah, Sam Tickle's a good shout, but will be more expensive now. Let's just see where we are in August, Rye, says Luke. Have a great summer, pal. Up the Ramble, Jim. Top class as always. Hoping the takeover goes through. It's what we need to take us that next step. Example, Brentford and Brighton. They're the sort of barometers, aren't they? And very hard to attain. It's what everybody wants to do, pal. And thank you for your kind words. But yeah. Just we need to get our own house in order, don't we? Club don't have to make return list public, apparently, says Bladesman. No, well, sure, but it's good practice, isn't it? Nick has completely cancelled his live, says Jamie. Well, thanks for the regular updates on other channels that we end up advertising on here. We have a great relationship with Sheffield United Way. Little known fact, actually, is that when I had 47 subscribers on the Ramble, Nick offered me to come on the channel, the Sheffield United Way, and started featuring me intermittently and just in little bits and had me on fans forums and stuff like that and let me advertise what the Ramble was doing. And he's played his part in helping guide me and stuff like that and giving me advice. So I know some people try and sort of pin it as a rivalry, and it's certainly not. I would probably say it's a friendly rivalry. I think we both want to be the best at what we do and want to put out a quality product. And I think we both do that. And I think we make each other better. But you don't have to be a fan of the Ramble or a fan of the Sheffield United Way. So you can be both, believe it or not, because I am. I'm a fan of both. But thank you for keeping us posted, Jamie. Much appreciated. Why would you keep an L? He's not been interested all season. Yes, Dino, I agree, mate. I agree. It was just a question I was putting out there. And Susan, no chance. Get him out, bad apple. If the new owners have got a few quid, then all our targets have probably changed. Up the blades, up the Ramble. Let's hope so, mate. Jamie with the timestamp at 7:24. I'm very close. Very close. What will the new officer's name be? As in, like, well, it's just the studio, isn't it? A lot of people have said like Ramble HQ or something like that. I don't know. We can open it up, see what people want to call it. Let me know in the comments. We'll go with what the people say. Yes, Jimmy. Brewster, 23.5 million, 89 games, 16 goals. He should have gone a long time ago. Thanks, Neil. I'm firmly back down to earth with Brewster now. Yeah, get him gone. New owners get the Prince back in as Captain Blade. Deary me. I would love the Prince to still be involved, says Tim, as I think he always has our best interests at heart. If I was an investor, though, I would want overall control. So, yeah, the Prince to have potentially a minority stake in any potential takeover. Because he did say, didn't he, just for those that didn't catch it on previous streams that we talked about, or during our interview when we were lucky enough to have him on the channel, and I was very lucky to get him on. I appreciate his time. But he did say it would entertain either a full sale of the club, a minority sale of the club, or a majority sale of the club. So, all options were on the table at that time. Whether that's still the case or not, we don't know. Up the blades, up the Ramble, like and subscribe from Tim. Top man, as always. Me personally, I'd prefer the Prince to retain a small interest, as I think he'll keep an eye on things, as I believe he cares. Love that, Dean. I agree. Could have gone an offer from another club with a longer contract. He could have got an offer. So, yeah, Ozzy could have come to Wilder and said, Derby, for example, like DC noted in our things, he is a Derby fan in our chat. If Derby have come to him and said, look, if you can get yourself freed from Sheffield United, we'll give you a 3-year contract. And, so it might not be the club doing Ozzy dirty. It might be us trying to do right by Ozzy as well. So, there's different ways to look at it, isn't there? Wonder if the printer's broken whilst trying to get the return list done, much like the fax machine when we lose out on signing, says Sam. I know, mate. I know there's always something that seems to go wrong at Sheffield United, isn't there? The Prince needs to have a word with Turkey and Saudi, His Excellency, Turkey Al Sheikh, and get some financial backing. I did jokingly mention that to him, but he ignored me, to be honest. So, he's on it, one of the richest men in the world, Turkey Al Sheikh, isn't he? So, there you go. In my experience, Jimmy says, John, 8 to 9 new players will take a few weeks at least to get playing as a team. That's my only concern. What do you think? I think that's usually the case, John, to be fair. And I think, yeah, it will. When Wilder brought that raft of players in first time, we lost 4 on spin, didn't we? I remember esteemed, respected Premier League scout turning to me and saying, what the chuff have we bought Jack O'Connell for? He's absolutely useless. In game 4, did he score an own goal or something like that against Gillingham? He had a really poor performance, and he had been shocking. This is my dad, by the way, that I'm talking about, who has got a hell of a lot more hits than he's got misses. But that was a big miss because Jack O'Connell went on to be a right beast. But it took 4 games, I thought, and he changed up the formation, did Wilder then, and we went on an unbelievable run and finished 100 points, as we know. That, for me, is an unbelievably quick way of gelling a load of new players together. Usually it takes a good few weeks. It's been done before where people have done a quick turnaround, but I think it'll take some time. I think we're going to have to be patient, and I hope the new ownership, if they're in place at that point, are patient with Chrissy Wilder, because in my opinion, that's what happened at Middlesbrough. He brought a raft of new players in, couldn't quite get them to gel in time. I mean the summer of his second season at Borough, when he tried to form his own team. He'd got a team that wasn't his playing and just missed out on the playoffs. And then he brought a load of players in, and Michael Carrick benefited from the groundwork that Chris Wilder did. In my opinion, I'm sure David Webster agrees with me on that. All right, Jimmy, let's hope if we get Cooper if Rooney takes over as boss. Yeah, Plymouth. Yes. So Rooney to Plymouth. Rooney being clueless. Let's hope we get Michael Cooper in. Yeah, I'd love that, David. That works for me, pal. Platinum Rambler, thank you for your support, mate. Heard about Billy going to Chesterfield. It's a great move for him. Imagine if he scored against us in pre-season. We'd all cheer, wouldn't we? Because it's pre-season. It don't mean no really, other than, getting players fit. It'd be great to see Billy on any occasion, really. Chesney, that'd be a right coup for them. A right coup. I thought if Donny went up, they might get Billy back. But Chesney in League 2, Billy Sharp. Mind you, it won't be Chesney, and I'll tell you why. Because haven't they just signed Paddy Madden, who's about 34? They've also got Will Grigg, who can't be on fire. There must only be embers left in Will Grigg. He's got to be 33, 34. They only play one striker up front, and it won't be, you can't bring Billy Sharp into that equation, because who do you drop? Because Billy's playing. Vancouver against Toronto. Usually we hate each other because the West Coast is the best coast. But as long as there's a blade, I'll be happy. Nice. I love that. 2 of our Canadian blades. Cody says, thank you, Jimmy, and thank you, guys. You're great. I'm really hoping we sell Sousa, Ivo Garbage, Brewster before the season. I'm actually excited about this potential takeover. Me too, Cody, mate. Me too. What's this Liam Miller like? Apparently in for him, according to reports. Only saw him very briefly for Preston last season, but looked very good. Turned up on the big occasions. He's a bit more of a winger. Would we be looked to play him maybe as a 10? But yeah, we linked to Liam Miller as far as I'm aware, so that could be an interesting one. I think he's a Basel player, playing for Basel. I don't know his nationality. Is he Scottish? I'm not sure, but he looked decent. We're losing out on all these players out of contract, says Jack. Look, Wilder has spoken to more than 20 players already. There are loads of discussions going on. So don't you worry about us being active. We're not missing out on anybody, Jack. We just haven't signed anybody yet. Tommy says, Jimmy, you're going to miss Wolfie from Forest Fan TV. Are you okay? Yeah, I'll definitely miss him. Definitely miss him. Like a hole in the head. But Wolfie is, I know people have their opinions on him. He's a controversial character, but I'll ruin his reputation by telling people really he's a nice guy. Paul says, don't need millions, just enough to make a steady top 3 Prem lol. Yeah, that's all we want. It's not much to ask, is it? Just Champions League every year. Up the Ramble, up the Blades, like and subscribe. Thank you, Davey boy. Very much appreciated. He ignored me. Brilliant, Jimmy. Yeah, he did. Well, he didn't ignore me. It was part of a conversation. And I said, you could, mention it to His Excellency Turkey Al. This was when we were doing the interview, I think. Al Sheikh. You can mention to His Excellency Turkey Al Sheikh if you want, Prince Abdullah. And he just went, anyway. Carried on. I think he laughed a little bit, thinking I was joking. I was like, I'm not joking. Pocket change to him. Best for us, a Saudi consortium with very rich people and the Prince retaining an interest, says Michael. Yeah, absolutely. We can dream, can't we? Bye-bye, Vinny. Fingers crossed, says Paul. Thoughts on Eki going to Plymouth? I don't think it's happening, pal. I think old Rooney is on his way to the Green Army, which is ridiculous, by the way. Heard any whispers of the McNair deal, mate? Really like that signing. Seems very strong in the Championship at that right centre-back. Hope he comes. I haven't heard anything recently about it, pal, but I'll be amazed. He's one that I'll be shocked if he doesn't come. If he doesn't come to United, I'll be surprised. He's the absolute definition of a Chris Wilder player. He fits in. He's played right centre-back for the past few seasons. I think he's an ideal Basham replacement, and I'll talk a little bit more about him in future videos because he's going to be part of our considerations, shall we say. Mike says, a few weeks ago, I spent £30 on a quick video from Ollie Mack on Cameo. 7 days, they promised. Just over 3 weeks later, he still hasn't done it. I think that's quite poor, as it was for my lad. That is poor. That is disappointing. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, mate. I'm sorry to hear that. It's not what you want, is it? Particularly when it's for a young one as well. £30 on McBurney. Some people wouldn't have paid that to Swansea. Stevie says, if you could fight for charity, one subscriber or Rambler, who would it be? You, Steve. You, obviously. We were in Triple Point on Sunday, and somebody suggested, one at Ramblers suggested, that I fight Nick as a charity boxing match in Good Nick. And Nick had had a few. I'll fight you right now. I'll fight you now, mate. And I'm like, no. I'm doing the Ramblers Fitness Challenge. Thank you very much. I'll get that out of the way and then come see me. What is it? What you say? 1, 2, left, right, good night. That's what it'll be. Left, right, good night in Good Nick. Toronto Blade gifted a Blades Ramble membership. Toronto Blade. Toronto 1, Vancouver 0. Oh no, Vancouver's Mr. V's gone platinum, so 1 apiece. Love that. Thank you both. That Dembele at Blackpool looked very good. Slight issue is that he's 5'2", so could be Traore 2.0. This is why I didn't want to go too early on scouting videos, because he linked to the Wendy's now, and there's been no sort of mention of him to us. So yeah, I'm pleased that I've waited to some degree. I just wish they'd hurry up with this returned list. Yeah, I hadn't seen enough of him, pal, to see whether he'd be any good for us. Nick Cook. Wow. Thank you, mate. Unbelievable, pal. Unbelievable. I think Wilder's first point of business will be to have the sandwich machine taken out of the VR. I watched that clip again today where he's moaning about sandwiches. Sorry, Tufty. Do you think Wilder may be his way owing to the no return list? New owners may have their own man. Maybe on his way. Is that what you mean? Owing to the no return list? No, I don't, pal. I don't. I think it'd be risky of them to remove Wilder, because as much as some question bringing him back, you've also got Wilder disciples like me who will be very upset if you don't give Wilder a chance to rebuild us. I think it'd be, unless you're bringing in the new Pep, then I don't think people would take well to it on the whole, personally. I think they'll give him a chance to fail, probably. If they wanted a new man, I think they'd have to give him a chance to fail. Ray says that first point, I think Wilder's first stint was at Fleetwood. Hussey crossed and centre half, forgotten his name, headed in, and Wilder did the famous slide down the pitch. Brilliant. All the blades up the right. Yeah, where he slid on, did his Klinsman, didn't he? And nearly headbutted a couple of players. Losing money, sorry, on these players out of contract. Oh, you mean like Aussie going for nothing? Yeah, maybe so, mate. Maybe so. Be interesting to see what unfolds, won't it? Watching Faxon on the TV is a great goalkeeper. Thanks. If he's given the summer and pre-season, I may like to see him given a chance. Wow. I think he's a little bit slight, isn't he? That's just, as an observation. And I will be watching him back on Cup final when we finish here. But have you seen the downfall of Beershot? Feel bad for them. Their fans want to end United World. I'm not surprised. I always wondered this, because a lot of our fans are against, or some of our fans are against United World. It's not really reaped the rewards that we were hoping for. But what if you're not the number one club in that pyramid? How would you feel if you're a feeder club to somebody else and like Beershot get a superstar now? The model suggests that he should be fast-tracked through to Sheffield United. How do you feel if you're Beershot having your main man plucked and put in English Championship? I don't get it. I don't get how you can keep other clubs satisfied in that model. Has Darren given any clues as to what is afoot? No. Maybe one or two. Nice one, Toronto Blade, says Tommy. Forest finals are looking tasty. Okay. Toronto Blade gifted 5 Blades Ramble memberships. Wow. Thank you, pal. Thank you. That is very kind. Ramble stand. Oh, is this for the new studio? Love it. Did a Forest fan just get given a membership? I hope not. You smell nice, Jimmy. Up the Blaze, up the Ramble, like and subscribe. I don't know if Dave Leary's in here tonight, but smells amazing. Trying for Cody, but it's going well. Top man. Thank you, mate. Thank you, Toronto Blade. Much appreciated, says Tom Barnsley. All good. Much love, Blades. Up the Blades, up the Ramble, like and subscribe. End of. That's a shout out to Billy. Jose Mourinho, I would love it. Just love it. Unbelievable. We can't go. Jose, no way. Up the Blades, up the Ramble, says Mark. And John finishes it off tonight. Oh, no, we'll have one more after this. John finishes off by saying, I think Jebo and Asula would rip the championship up, and there's our second choice. They're our second choice. Up the Blades, up the Ramble, like and subscribe. And Baschenbauer, with our final comment of the evening, says, I hope this American business takeover isn't called Tingo. Good evening, Jose. How you doing? So, yeah, still loads going off at United. Loads to continue talking about. We love doing that here anyway. Thank you, everybody, for joining me and just having a ramble tonight about what's going off. We thought we'd be talking about the return list. Didn't quite work out that way. We'll get ready, though, for when it does come out. And maybe we'll have to do like a bit of a shotgun ramble or whatever you call it. What do I call it when we're doing those short ones? Can't remember now. Anyway, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Appreciate everybody's input and thank you to everybody who's been so generous in either becoming a Rambler or giving you donations to the channel. It's very much appreciated. We'll get a name for that thing behind me and hopefully we'll be in there soon. But for now, come on, you red and white wizards. Get that return list out. Up the Blade!